Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Pisces, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of August. I hope you are well. I'm using the Tarot of the Abyss for you today. So, let's get straight on and see what's going on with you. Could I have 3 cards for Pisces, please? Oh, there's the first one. We have the World card. I'm going to tell you about my meditation once I get these out. I have current energy for Pisces, please. Oh, fucking hell, it's flying all over the place. We have the Strength card, Leo. And what's coming towards Pisces, please? Thank you. 8 of Wands. Now, the meditation that I did before I started the reading, I had two images, and one was a boat sailing away and another was a bird taking off. And so the message that's coming through quite strongly is that there is, well, that there's movement going on. It looks like you're leaving something behind. We have the 10 of Swords at the bottom of the deck there, but we have behind it the 9 of Pentacles and, may I say, the Ace of Wands. There are cards of endings here with the 10 of Swords in the World, but there are also cards of beginning, and there's cards of growth in between the two. Let's get some clarifiers, see what this is about. It's transition, Pisces. You're in a state of transition right now, and it's uncomfortable. But growth is never comfortable, as we know. It feels pretty big. Tell me about the World card, please. We've got the 7 of Cups. Show that to you there. There it is. And the World, please. Thank you. And the Death card. Not sure how many more cards of endings and transitions you need, Pisces. Tell me about the Strength card. Got the Queen of Pentacles. We have the Star card. Tell me about the 8 of Wands, please. Why is this here for Pisces? Thank you. We have the 5 of Pentacles in reverse. And one more card, please, for the 8 of Wands. And we have the 2 of Wands. Yeah, okay. We have the Knight of Wands at the bottom of the deck there. That is Sagittarius energy. And it's very much concerned with the here and now. Oh, sunflower's trying to eat my head. Oh no, I've lost my fiddly thing. It's here. I haven't lost it. Sagittarius energy is concerned with the here and now. It's a great deal of focus. It's in fact all of your focus on what is going on right in front of you. It can also speak to opportunity. Now, generally speaking, the Knight of Wands is a card that we associate with fun often, actually. But I don't get a sense that what you're dealing with here is fun. It's just very much about the present energy and the movement. This is definitely movement going on here. What's underneath that Knight of Wands? 10 of Wands. More cards of completion and culmination. So there's a disproportionate amount of major arcana here, Pisces. And it feels to me a little bit like you feel like you have been forced to make the decisions that you are making. The transition that you're going through, the pulling away from something and moving towards something else, which you might not really have a plan for at this point. It feels to me like you've been pushed to this point, or at least you feel like you've been pushed to this point. It's not to say that you're unwilling, but there has been a resistance to making a change. And now the scales have tipped, and it feels like you can't not do what you have to do here. Now, I don't know if this is a question of your particular value system. You know, you've been in a situation where you've been having to compromise just a little bit, and now it's got to the point where, you know, it feels inauthentic to be able to continue on in this vein. Or whether it is the situation around you that seems to have degraded to such a point that you are now so uncomfortable within it that being anywhere else feels like it's the better choice. In your recent past, we have the World. It's a card of endings for sure. It's the last card in the Major Arcana. And it speaks to things, obviously, coming to an end, coming to completion. You know, the Major Arcana runs from the Fool through to the World. And once we hit the World, we go back to the Fool and we start a new cycle. It's often considered to be a really good card. Well, it is a really good card, right? It's you kind of hit the end and now it's time to start again somewhere else. But you take all of the wisdom that you've amassed during that time with you. That's the thing, you know, and it's ever better. But we've got the Seven of Cups and the Death card. Now, the Seven of Cups indicates a time of confusion and possibly illusion. And I'm wondering if it's a case of the scales falling from your eyes about a particular situation here. You know, we've got this dude here who's in the dark and he's looking at all of these options and you know, his body language is just like, I don't really know what to choose. But the thing that strikes me on the World card is we have that wide open eye right at the top there. It's like once things have been seen, they cannot be unseen. So there might have been some confusion around this, but I think it's principally illusion that has been the problem. But here is the Death card, right there, speaking to transformation, endings, yes, but beginnings too. I mean, I do feel like within an ending, there is always the birth of a new beginning, because as in nature abhors a vacuum. You know, you create a space, something's going to rush in to fill it. I don't feel like you know what that is at the moment. You just, with this Ten of Wands here and this Ten of Swords over here, it's like enough is enough. It's too much. I've got to go somewhere else. I've got to do something else. And you've made the decision to do that. Now, the card that was underneath this, card that was underneath the Ten of Wands and the Knight of Wands here was the King of Swords. There's Aquarius energy there, but it talks very much about making a decision, right? Being decisive about something. And what's the card that was sitting under that? It's the Tower. Now, it could be that the realization of Five of Swords as well. It could be a realization that you've been deceiving yourself. It could be a realization that somebody has been deceiving you. It could be that there's no winning in this situation. So taking what you can from it and choosing to walk away because it costs less than staying where you are. You know, getting to that point of discomfort enough that anywhere else is more comfortable than where you are. Seems to be the theme. What was underneath that Ten of Swords? Oh yes, Nine of Pentacles and Ace of Wands. You see, despite the discomfort in the ending, there's a sense of relief here that I'm getting off this Nine of Pentacles, because there's an opportunity to pull your power back to you, pull your resources back to you. They feel like they've been stretched a little thin in whatever way that applies. Now, if you've watched my videos for any length of time, you'll know that I see the Pentacles as energetic currency. It is, you know, your time, your care, your effort, your money, your love. Anything that you can invest becomes a pentacle. And for me, nines speak about you, the individual, right? Whatever process you're going on here. So when you put those two things together, we have you having expended far too much of your stuff and needing to bring it back to you, whether it is your time, care, effort, money, love, whatever it is. So maybe somebody's been acting, you know, like a bit of a parasite, and they've been bleeding you dry financially. Maybe they've been doing it emotionally. Maybe they've been doing it energetically. Maybe a situation that you have been in has been what's been causing this, rather than an individual person. But in the act of navigating a difficult transition, a difficult ending, there's this incredible sense of relief that comes from the realization that now you do have the energetic currency, be it time, care, money, effort, love, or whatever, to actually put it in a new direction, because you have that Ace of Wands there. It's actually beautiful that it's gone from the 10 to the Ace, because there are cycles within cycles in the tarot, and the Ace to the 10 is one of them. We had the 10 first, and then we have the Ace. So no matter how difficult this feels, there is hope, and there is great potential actually on the other side of this, in this act of pulling everything back to you. Now, in your current energy, we've got the Strength card, we've got the Queen of Pentacles and the Star, and this feels like a recalibration. Whatever you're pulling yourself away from, and that message is coming through very, very clear, it is you pulling yourself away from a situation. So I was just absolutely buffeted with things there. It's created space. Okay, I'm going to boil it down to that. It's created space. The Strength card is a card that talks about personal growth for me. Yes, it does talk about needing to be strong, and as we know, that's not about fighting bears or, lions or anything like that. It's about exercising a soft control, a soft power. And that power is not over your circumstances, it is over yourself. And if you're stuck in something that is difficult, and you have been, certainly, the ability to come through that a little bit older, a little bit wiser, perhaps a little tatty around the ears, if you are indeed this lion. It's created just yet another level of resilience in you, another level of wisdom, another level of discernment, another level of experience, because I think any fire sign card is all about experience ultimately. It's about the experience of growth. It's possible that you're still trying to process what all of this means. But I love the fact that we've got the Queen of Pentacles and the Star sitting underneath here, because like I said, it feels like a recalibration. Pulling everything back, getting it to a sense of what is acceptable to you. We're starting with a point of what is acceptable. And taking the time to nurture yourself in the process, right? Kind of come back to what is important. I am important, my feelings are important, my security, my safety is important, my stability is important, my freedom sometimes is important, my liberty is important, in whatever sense that applies. It's kind of bringing it back to basics so that the star can do its work. Now, the star means a couple of different things, as all the cards do actually, they're multivalent. One side of the star talks about healing. It talks about returning balance to yourself after the activities of the Tower, right? It's the next card in the Major Arcana. But for me, it also talks about hopes and dreams and a sense of connection to something, whether that is yourself, and that is, woefully lacking in our world at the moment. A sense of people being connected to themselves or to a collective in a meaningful sense, rather than a sense that they're told to be. And so the recalibration is what's happening while you are healing. But it seems like it's creating the space for you to be able to think about what it is that you want in the future. And I think the part of what the growth is here is a realization that what you have wanted hasn't formed a part of what was manifesting. It seems like it was coming from other people. Now, this is quite interesting because last year, when was it? I feel like it was about this time last year. It was about July or August. A lot of you up sticks and moved. Literally, geographically relocated yourselves to get away from people. And so one would assume that that lesson had been learned, right? We have to focus on you, have to focus on what's important. I feel like this has kind of slid in rather insidiously under the radar with you. And I think part of the reason why it did that was because you've been through this before. But because you've been through it before in a very specific way, those were the red flags that you were looking for. And when those red flags didn't appear, you assumed that the situation was all good. And I've spoken before, I feel. I don't know if I've spoken to you about it, Pisces, but when you've been in an abusive relationship and you come out of that and then you heal and whatnot, and then you start thinking about the possibility of, meeting somebody else and that sort of thing. Very fresh in your mind are all of the abuses of the past, right? And so what you end up doing is kind of walking around with a checklist. They must not do this, they must not do that, they must not do the other. This is a massive red flag for me, And it becomes an exercise in looking for the absence of those things in people. But the problem with that is that it tends to blind you to the other red flags. It's a really remarkable thing that abuse just changes its outfit. It puts on different clothes, and then you don't recognise it when it walks up. It's got a funny little false moustache and everything. Oh, sound. Sunglasses and a hat and a trench coat, It's disguised. And somehow, something that you feel you should have recognised, you haven't up until this point, and you couldn't put your finger on why you were so confused about it. But here in this grand reveal, because it does feel to me like the star is the grand reveal, it's you seeing everything clearly for what it is. You realise that the situation that you just, that you got out of last year, the circumstances, has just kind of reappeared, but in disguise. Now that can be a very, very powerful realisation. It can be one that, we end up kind of kicking ourselves over and, use it as a stick to beat ourselves with. But there's a lot of power in that realisation too. Because not only does it give you an opportunity to work out, what your checklist of positive attributes for a situation or for the way that it makes you feel or for a person are. It's delivered a lesson in how easy it is to blind ourselves, even with knowledge. Right? I'll say that knowledge, wisdom is the application of knowledge. You have knowledge of how these situations have played out in the past, but what you were lacking was the wisdom to apply it moving forwards. I feel like the wisdom is the thing that is developing here for you, Pisces, because often we get sent the same lesson over and over again in a slightly different outfit each time until we see it for what it is. It's nothing to do with the people, and it's everything to do with the way that we involuntarily fool ourselves. Now, when we come to what's coming towards you, we have the Eight of Wands here, and it's quite interesting. We've got those birds in flight, and that's exactly what I saw. The Eight of Wands is a card that deals with communication, and it could be that factors in here. Perhaps you are talking to people, people that have your best interests at heart. So perhaps people who maybe were warning you earlier on and you didn't listen to them. They would probably fall under this category, People who are a little more removed from the situation that you find yourself in currently. But it also talks about momentum, and it talks about movement. These 8 wands are static, but the birds above them are in flight. And there's a sense of you elevating beyond where you currently find yourself, even though you're in a state of healing right now, right? we don't want to sit around and dwell on this for too long. You know, we take from it what we need to know, and then we start to move. But I think that you've got more decisions coming up here now. I love the fact that the Five of Pentacles is in reverse, because when it shows up this way round, it talks to me about the way that we fail to meet our own basic needs. And if this idea of a checklist of things that you don't want, that you're looking to tick off, has had any kind of resonance with you at all, then I feel like this will too. But it's shown up in the reverse, which is really important because it's an incredibly stabilizing effect. It has an incredibly stabilizing effect on your energy. Because rather than failing to meet your own basic needs, you are putting your needs first. And part of your needs are to heal, for sure. But they're also to pay attention to what it was that has, what it was in you that has led you to a point where you felt like you were isolated or abandoned or alone, where you've, you know, and we know that you can feel alone in a room full of people, right? Let's not forget that. But there's a resolve here. Let me pull another card for this. I'm finding this very interesting. Okay, how 9 of Wands, right? Well, that makes sense because we already had the 8, we had the 10 as well. But it's a card that speaks about boundaries. I mean, maybe you realise that your boundaries have been in the wrong place. No matter how good the intention was when you erected them, have you maintained them properly? That is something that it seems to me that you're reflecting on here at this point. Were they even in the right place? Were they with the right people? You know, have you been guilty of a lack of discernment up until this point about the people and the situations that you found yourself in? Maybe because you were referring to that checklist like I was talking about there. Ace of Wands. There's the Fool at the bottom of the deck. It seems to me like it's you know, you still have 10 wands here. We had the 10 of Wands appearing in the shadow cards, right, as we started the reading. But I like the division of these better. So where the 10 of Wands talks about burden and things being too hard, too difficult, very burdensome, we're splitting them up into 2 here. So we've got the 9 wands that are talking about your boundaries and the way that you look after them, right? It's also talking to an increased resilience in you, actually. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger and all that. But then that extra wand, that ace, that we have already seen in the shadow cards, right here, is coming to help you start again. The problem for me, well, not the problem for me, but I think the problem for you is that you don't know where you're going. Like I said, it's like with the Fool, it's a kind of a leap into the void. All you know is that you can't stay where you have been, in whatever sense that applies to you. And so now it's time to jump, it's time to go somewhere else, it's time to do something, and you don't seem to me that you have a plan beyond this. And I don't think that that's a bad thing for you, Pisces. 5 of Pentacles in reverse. I am not going to make this mistake again. I am not going to abandon myself again in this same way. I'm going to erect my boundaries and I am going to start over. There's that other card that you've got is the 2 of Wands. Now the Ace is the card that immediately precedes the 2, and I think this is great because aces are just potential. And they will forever remain potential unless you do something with them. You have to pluck that potential up and you have to go somewhere and you have to do it, right? And so the 2 of Wands appearing next is brilliant because it means that you are doing something with that. You know, the Ace of Wands is the energy to make change, I think. I'm quite certain about that. It's a card that deals with experience and living and changing your life in a lot of ways. It's rediscovering your creativity and your passion. And as you are in this act of pulling all of your resources back to you, so you are far better equipped to be able to go off and do that. The 2 of Wands meaning is a crossroads. It is decisions that you need to make moving forwards. Now, you may not know with this Fool and with this Ace of Wands that's appeared twice here for you, you may not have a plan, you may not know where you're going, but I don't think that's the important thing. The important thing is that you are willing to engage with that. You're not sitting by passively. Thank you. And Nine of Swords reversed. You're not worrying about it anymore, because I don't know, that's a terrible fucking card. It's a really uncomfortable energy there, and I think that this speaks more to where you have been than where you are going. Showing it up in the reverse like that means you're getting your perspective back. You're understanding that there are things that need to be done, and you're going to go about the act of doing those things. I just noticed we've got the Magician at the bottom of the deck there too. You've got everything that you need. You might not have everything that you want, and you might be limping a little bit from the experience, but you can still get up and move. And this act of taking yourself away from a Nine of Swords, away from a Ten of Swords, away from a Ten of Wands, even away from the Seven of Cups, is an incredibly strong thing to do. And it might be a bit much that you finally, to hope that you're finally starting to understand the extent of your power, but I think that you're getting a little taste of it. I think that you're realising that you can just up, you can reinvent yourself. And more than that, you can really encourage this deep relationship that you have with yourself, where you can have this sort of dialogue. You go, right, okay, I fucked up here. Where specifically did I fuck up? Where specifically did I not pay attention to the things that I was supposed to be looking at? Why has this situation kind of repeated itself? What do I know now that I did not know when I came into this situation? And how can I take that moving forwards? How can I use that to liberate myself and keep myself free, more specifically? This is a really interesting reading, Pisces. I always love reading for you. You never know what you're going to get. So I'm going to go over to Vimeo now, because this end of the reading, this what's coming towards you, is very strong. I mean, everything that's happened up until this point is very strong too, but I would like to really get into August for you. So if you'd like to join me over there, the link is in the description box to Vimeo. If you want to purchase the extended, you could come and join my Patreon community if you would like. That is also possible. The link's also down in the description box. But if neither of those are your bag, that's absolutely fine. Just know that however tricky and difficult it feels now, you are learning something really, really important. And the liberation and the recalibration is going to take you somewhere far more in alignment with what you actually want. And I think that's incredibly important. So, know that I love you all very, very much. And I'll see you soon.